Josephine's forbidden fire. The sinister night Charleston's haunted manor burned while they slept. The Thompsons should have known better than to buy the charming old manor. "It's perfect," her parents said. "Affordable housing in a gentrifying neighborhood." But the truth was hidden beneath layers of whitewashed history. On their first night, as they settled into the creaking wood floors and echoed laughter, a sense of dread seeped through the walls. No one spoke of the fire. No one mentioned the families that vanished into the flames long ago. Josephine had her own secrets to uncover. While exploring the attic, the air thickened with cold, seeping through her skin. She stumbled upon a dust-covered trunk. Inside, she found a family journal. Its pages filled with shadowy tales of joy turned to sorrow, the previous owners' names, the way they had lived, and how they had died in the fire. Each word clawed at her heart. She could feel the heat rising, her breath quickening with its memories, the unbearable crackling of flames echoing in her mind. As she read on, her vision blurred. She was there, standing amidst the chaos, watching the flickering shadows of people screaming, helpless against the inferno as it consumed everything. "This can't be real," she gasped, but the visions pulled her deeper. It was as if she were reliving that night, the flames licking at the walls, the smoke choking out life. It wasn't just the journal. It was something else, something haunting, and it was watching her. The house grew oppressive. Creaks echoed through the hallways, and whispers twisted in the silent corners. She started to feel a presence, an unsettling shadow lurking behind her as she moved from room to room. Her parents worked late, their laughter fading into the night. They didn't notice her unease or the chill that swept through the air whenever she descended the stairs. The neighbors' hushed voices haunted her thoughts. That family, they never escaped. Were they warning her? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. One night, she heard a loud crash from the attic, a dingy, scraping sound that sent her heart racing. She ran up the stairs, every shadow taunting her, pulling her closer to the darkness that played games with her mind. Just as she reached for the attic door, it swung wide open, revealing unfathomable darkness, as if the air inside pulsed with malevolence. She stepped inside and found an old, charred photograph, the names of the family inscribed on the back. A chill ran down her spine. Her instincts screamed that she should leave, but curiosity bound her feet. She whirled around, the atmosphere thick like smoke. She could feel the heat growing more intense. Flames flickered to life around her as though they had come from nowhere, powerful and wicked. The screams echoed louder now that night was not just a memory. It was returning. The closeness of danger stung her senses. No, not again, she screamed. But would anyone hear her? She was all alone, facing a legacy that refused to be buried. As the fire roared, Josephine realized with horrifying clarity this house demanded recognition, and it wouldn't stop until it claimed its next victims. Desperate, she needed to find the truth. Who could she trust? Just as doubt crept in, she felt the heat of the flames engulfing her. The wall of the manor thudded violently, and she dared not turn around. She knew something from the past awakened, ready to consume them all. Josephine stumbled backward, terror clawing at her throat as the flames danced closer. She didn't know how they could materialize from the air itself, consuming the very essence of the attic. The photos on the walls warped, their faces twisting in agony, as if reflecting her own horror. She turned to flee, wanting nothing more than to escape the smothering darkness. But the very door she had entered through was now blocked. Searing heat gnawed at her, the inferno hungry for recognition. She was stuck in a living nightmare. Her mind raced. Were the spirits of the family somehow trapped, wanting her to witness their despair? Would they drag her into their cursed history? Help! Someone, help me! She screamed, her voice cracking, but the attic swallowed her cries, the flames roaring like beasts prowling for prey. Her heart thundered in her chest, each beat a reminder of her own mortality. Just then, a voice broke through the chaos, low and ghostly, floating from the shadows. You must remember. You must remember. The words enveloped her, pulling her towards a vision. Images flashed before her eyes. A young girl in a white dress playing with a doll in the room below, a couple arguing, the flames flickering through the floorboards. They weren't just watching, they were pleading. Her hands trembled as she reached for her neck. Her grandmother's locket hung cold against her skin. Felt like a tether to reality. No, she shouted, turning her back on the fire, even as it lapped hungrily at her heels. I will not be your next victim. With every ounce of willpower, Josephine turned and pushed against the door. It creaked ominously but swayed open, and in an instant, she was engulfed in fresh air, the heat fading as she tumbled onto the attic's staircase. She gasped for breath, her lungs burning from both smoke and fear. But now the rumors of the neighborhood whispered louder in her mind. That family, they never escaped. Why hadn't she listened? They weren't just stories. They were warnings. She had to discover what bound them to the room and to her. Before she could collect herself, a chill swept over her as the attic door creaked ominously behind her. The clatter of something falling back inside froze her. She peered over her shoulder. A figure, barely illuminated by the flickering light, emerged. A child's outline, eyes hollow and haunting, glowing with the remnants of a life lost to flame. You must remember. It whispered again, its voice echoing like a distant scream. Josephine's heart plummeted. This was no fantasy. The flames and shadows were real, and they were not finished with her yet. She stepped back in horror, desperate to escape, but the vision of the child anchored her in place. It wants you to understand, the figure persisted, reaching out with an ashen hand. It needs you to see. As dread enveloped her again, Josephine felt an overwhelming push to confront the truth. She squeezed her eyes shut, summoning her courage to uncover what had been hidden for so long. But just as a spark of understanding ignited within her, the temperature plummeted. The shadows thickened. Something sinister was rising. The past was unearthing its dark secrets. But how was she to unravel the truth without being consumed by it? Before Josephine could answer, the child's laughter pierced the silence, its haunting tones swallowed by the darkness, as she stared into the abyss of the unknown. Time was running out. Would she be able to piece together the fragments before the flames returned for her again? Josephine remained frozen, the child's laughter echoing in her ears, wrapping around her like a shroud. It needs you to see, rang through her mind as she grasped the locket tightly, desperately trying to anchor herself to reality. As she tore her gaze from the spirit, the realization hit her like a cold wave. The attic's danger hadn't vanished. She could still feel the heat seeping from the walls, curling like tendrils of smoke around her legs. Panic surged, and instinct propelled her down the staircase, the old wood creaking beneath her weight as if warning her of the dangers below. The flickering lights cast wicked shadows on the walls, shifting dangerously. Each step felt riddled with unseen threats, and the whispers of the past clawed at her mind. Why did she feel this urgency, this pull toward the darkness she had just escaped? Barely breathing, she reached the bottom of the stairs and found herself in the dark hallway leading to the family's living room. Fragments of memories splintered through her mind, flashes of the couple she'd seen in her vision, and the little girl with the haunting laughter. Josephine hesitated, her instincts screaming at her to leave. Yet some deeper part of her knew she had to continue, driven by a compulsion to uncover the truth. Suddenly, the air grew thick and stale, the tension wrapping around her like a vice. She could feel it, the chill of despair hanging in the air, the spirits lurking just beyond sight. The living room beckoned, its shadows seeming to whisper secrets lost to time. As she stepped inside, the scent of charred wood and ashes filled her nostrils, an ominous reminder of the flames that had swallowed this house whole. The fireplace stood cold, stones blackened and lifeless. She approached it, her heart thundering in her chest, the locket pulsing against her skin. "Why do you want me to remember?" she whispered into the desolation, a fragile plea against the looming silence. The sounds of a child's soft sobbing broke through the quiet, chilling her blood. It was coming from the corner, where dust motes floated like trapped souls in the half-light. Josephine steeled herself and turned. "Who's there?" she called, voice trembling. From the shadows emerged not just the child but a woman. Her face stricken with sorrow, tears streaming down burnt skin as if the memories of the flames had etched pain into her very being. "You must help us." The woman's voice escaped like a ghostly wail, laced with a desperate plea that sent shivers up Josephine's spine. I don't know how," Josephine stammered, heart racing. "What do you want?" The woman pointed to her hands, scarred and shaken. "You carry the key. Only you can break the cycle of our torment." As she spoke, the shadows that enveloped her flickered, revealing the charred remnants of a life once full of laughter and joy. "Please," Josephine begged. "Tell me how." But just as the spirit opened her mouth, the windows rattled violently, and a gust of wind swirled through the room, extinguishing the last flickers of light. Darkness consumed her, the shadows laughing now, jubilant in their dominion. Josephine felt a pressure tighten around her throat, choking her words before they could escape. "I want to let you take me," she gasped, flailing as the cold grasp poached her strength. In the suffocating blackness, a fragment of light glimmered her grandmother's locket. It burned against her chest, and a surge of warmth flowed through her, igniting the courage that lay dormant within. "I will remember," she shouted into the void, an echo colliding with unseen forces. In her mind, images started to unfold again: the girl, the couple, the flames. But what could she remember? Could this truly set them free? A scream pierced the darkness, and Josephine felt herself being pulled into the fire, into their past, into the truth that could either save her or doom her forever. Would she be able to confront the torrent, or was she destined to become another scream lost to the night? She took a step forward, ready to embrace the unknown. The weight of the shadows pressed down on Josephine as she took that step, but nothing could compare to the jolt of recognition that hit her next. The clamor of voices filtered through the dark, voices mingling with the cracking of flames, punctuating the air with a sharp syncopation of terror. Images burst forth, moments lost in ash and smoke flickered like a film reel played too fast. She saw the couple, their faces contorted with fear, reflections of flames dancing in their wide eyes. And the girl, innocent, clutching her doll, laughing in a hauntingly naive way, unaware that laughter would become a memory clouded by anguish. "Fight it," echoed someone, a frantic whisper drawn from the void. Josephine's heart pounded like a drum, each beat a reminder of the urgency to remember. "Fight it." The words coiled around her tighter, restraining her will, and she felt caught in the grasp of an unspeakable terror. A sudden shift hurled her forward. She was no longer standing in the cold living room. She was on the brink of the flames. The heat scorched her skin, and the acrid smell of burning would filled her lungs. Shadows danced around her as she stood before a doorway. Flames licked narrowly at an old wooden frame. A glass-eyed window cracked and splintered. "Go," a voice urged. Desperation seeped through the smoke and heat like a pulse, guiding her. But which way? A chilling laugh echoed, the child's, sweet yet sinister. "You have to choose, Josephine." The laugh rang, screaming truth and feigning innocence all at once. "Choose who lives and who dies." Josephine staggered, the realization setting in. She felt paralyzed by dread, the weight of their fate hanging on her shoulders. The memories rushed back: the laughter of the girl, the promises whispered in the dark, the flames that took them all too soon. "Wake up," she screamed, looking into the blinding glow of the flames. But as she did, tendrils of fire whipped around her, pulling her toward the chaos. She held the locket tightly, its warmth intertwining with her fear, a tether to who she really was. "I won't let this happen again." But the fire raged, the house all but alive as it consumed her resolve. Flickering shadows poured from the walls, writhing like serpents, eager to ensnare her in their fray of despair. "You're one of us now." Desperation clawed at her throat. I have to remember. She fought against the pull of the flames, grasping for anything solid in the chaos. Just ahead, a safe spot glimmered a beam of light amidst the encroaching darkness. She lunged for it, but the vortex of malevolence wrapped around her, tightening its hold, dragging her back into the smoke and fury. As the heat seared her, she crashed against the weight of souls still trapped in this inferno, haunting tales waiting to be released. Just as she thought the fire would engulf her completely, a sudden, piercing scream cut through the chaos. It was a cry of anguish, raw and twisted. "Help us!" Desperation and survival waged war within her. "I will free you," Josephine shouted, her voice rising above the cacophony. "I promise." But an icy grip wrapped around her heart. What if she wasn't strong enough? What if the memories she unraveled only brought them deeper into their darkened fate? The flames pulsed in response, and the shadows roared with laughter. Would she be the savior or the final nail in their coffin? With her resolve faltering against the abyss, Josephine had to decide. Would she push forward to face the truth or retreat into the safety of ignorance? Darkness shrouded her, forcing her to glimpse one final truth. The girl's laughter echoed once more, but this time, it was punctured by screams. What awaited her in that flickering glow was something even more dangerous than the flames. Was it the answer she sought, or simply another trap waiting to swallow her whole? Josephine's feet felt heavy, as if anchored to the ground by the relentless pull of unseen forces. The light ahead flickered, taunting her, a bewitching promise wrapped in dread. She had to choose. The thunder of screams echoed around her, drowning out the laughter that once seemed innocent. As she stumbled toward the light, the shadows writhed and grasped at her, whispering hisses that bypassed her ears and burrowed into her mind. "You can't save them," they hissed. "You're one of them now." Each breath was a treacherous gamble, far too thin and cloying with smoke. Suddenly, she spotted a figure beyond the flicker, a silhouette against the glow, distorted and grotesque, stretching toward her like tendrils of darkness. "Help us," the figure wailed. It was the child, the girl from the memories, but her beautiful eyes were clouded, pouring forth tears that sizzled in the heat like fire raindrops. "Please." The choice. Josephine staggered, confusion slicing through her. What choice? She pressed a hand against her aching head, memories swirling like a storm behind her eyes. What do I do? The girl's form faded, the flames behind her growing furious, a roar admiring their conquest. Each flicker revealed not one, but the spectral shadows of many, all trapped, all desperate. Faces emerged from the flames, unfamiliar yet achingly familiar, drawn together in a tapestry of anguish. Loud cracks reverberated like bones breaking. Each snap sent shivers racing down her spine. Josephine had to fight. She could not allow them to linger in this torment. The horror was suffocating. "I will break this cycle," she shouted, her voice drowning in the chaos. But the heat was unbearable, and she felt the tug of the darkness pulling her back. "Do you really want to know?" It was the girl's voice again, soft and sweet yet laced with venom. "Do you want to know the truth?" Josephine's breath hitched. The truth? Did she? "Yes," she cried, desperate for resolution. "Show me." The moment her plea echoed into the flames, a surge of energy exploded from within her. A blinding light rushed forward, bursting through the smoke. It consumed the shadows, pushing back, igniting the air with a raw, savage power. But as the darkness recoiled, the flames transformed, bending and thrashing in excruciating agony. You will suffer," they screamed, no longer voices of anguish but raving beasts, churning with fury. Josephine shielded her eyes from the gnashing light, panic crashing over her like waves. What is happening? Suddenly, the doorframe glimmered brighter, and shadows morphed into the couple whose terrified faces she remembered. Their plea rising above the noise, "Save us, Josephine." Just a step ahead, the memory girl stepped forward once more, and her laughter rang clear, echoing through the tumult. "You have to make the choice. Who will it be?" Every ounce of courage surged within Josephine, battling against despair. The truth was right in front of her but cloaked in torment. The choice was life or death, and as the flames surged violently around her, she felt a sickening twist in her gut. The shadows began to close in, shapes filling with eyes wide as ice hungry, desperate, pleading. "No," she yelled, the sound raw with fear. "I can't." But as she trembled, the energy siphoned from her like a tether fraying, unraveling her connection to hope. "Make the choice. It's the only way." The girl's voice boomed, shaking the walls, drowning in bloody echoes of laughter. In the flickering light, her world splintered. Shadows engulfed her, pulling her into a maelstrom. Josephine stood frozen, the realization crashing over her like the waves of that choking density she had fought. There was no way to save them all. "Who dies?" she whispered. The flames cackled, and everything began to fade. As the light pierced through the darkness one last time, she was left with one thought, a question that echoed like a warning through the howling silence. What if the price of their freedom was her own? Who would she be willing to lose? And in that bittersweet moment of clarity, the flames roared, hunger, growing stronger. Josephine felt herself spiraling down into the void, the choice dangling like a delicate, fraying thread in front of her. The laughter that had once sounded sweet transformed into a tormenting melody of despair. As the shadows closed in tighter, suffocating her, she gasped for air, fighting against the darkness. Her heart pounded, each beat a reminder that time was running out, and in this hellish realm, seconds felt stretched like hours. The words of the girl echoed incessantly in her mind. Who will it be? It twisted like a knife, a question that no one should have to answer. Yet here she was, caught in its undertow. Suddenly a howling wind surged through the flames, sending sparks flying like shooting stars, each one carrying a fragment of memory. Faces twisted in anguish danced in the air, and the girl's eyes bore into her, alive with urgency. "You have to choose. You can't hide from the truth. A choice of life or death," Josephine whispered, the reality crashing over her. The couple's faces like haunting photographs filled her thoughts. Their screams echoed like a prayer she couldn't quite decipher. Could she sacrifice one for many? Which one was worthy of saving? Hot tears streamed down her cheeks, mingling with the smoke that burned her lungs. "Time is fading," the girl shouted, clutching at the air as if trying to grab hold of the seconds slipping away. Josephine fought back, every fiber of her being pushing against the darkness. "I want to save you all. I want to make the choice." The shadows crescendoed, morphing into grotesque figures that lunged toward her. The flames flickered with insatiable hunger, pulling her down, deeper into its maw. She screamed, the sound lost in the chaos and fury. But in that moment of hysteria, something ignited within her, a flicker of defiance sparked through the engulfing dread. "No," she bellowed. "I refuse to be another victim of this nightmare." Josephine steadied her breath, vision clearing as she remembered her own strength. She closed her eyes, envisioning the warmth of life surrounding her, those she loved. It was enough to push back the despair that sought to envelop her completely. Maybe there's another way," she murmured, her spirit rising from the ashes. She focused, channeling the energy that crackled in her bones, forcing the reality of choice into her mind, grasping for those lost souls. "I want to leave you." The space shifted, heat radiating, the oppressive weight of the shadows lessening as her resolve solidified. She felt the warmth of her loved ones almost tangibly, their strength coursing through her. "I am not afraid," the flames hissed, recoiling in fury but unable to extinguish her light. In that fierce glow, Josephine thought she saw a way to amend the mistakes of the past, to reclaim the lost. Together, she shouted, each word a beat of resolve crashing into the shadows. "I will fight for you all." The laughter turned into screeches as the flames, furious and enraged, spiraled in response. Josephine felt the shadows shudder, their grip weakening. She stood taller, heart racing but firm. Could they escape this hell she had stumbled upon? Or would the sinister toll of fate bind them all together in endless torment? Suddenly, the world erupted in chaos, the ground beneath her shaking violently. Pieces of her past unspooled, mixed in the smoke, blurring the line between reality and nightmare. Each scream, an echoed warning. Each flicker of flame, a looming threat. As the fiery whirl spun wildly, she sensed something beyond something looming over the chaos like a predator waiting to strike. A presence, dark and ancient, simmered in the air, whispering promises of despair. Who will you sacrifice to save the others? It taunted, its voice a low growl that reverberated in her bones. Josephine, the shadows hissed, insistent as they twisted and writhed. Choose, and just like that, her resolve trembled. In a world of fire and fear, where the cost of salvation dangled precariously, who would she become? The choice loomed like a noose tightening around her throat. Would she show them mercy, or embrace the horror of her own choices? With a sob of defiance, she screamed, "I refuse." But the darkness only laughed. It was hungry for her decision. As the flames danced frantically around her, a single thought pierced her heart like a dagger. Was she strong enough to face it, or would she be consumed by the very choices she sought to evade? Josephine felt the ground shake beneath her, the heat rising in a ferocious dance, licking at her skin like 1,000 small fires. The laughter no longer sweet. Now a jagged noise erupted around her, seeping into the very corners of her mind. Shadows clamored, writhing around her, a dark symphony demanding her focus. Choose! The shrill voice broke through the chaos. It was the girl, eyes wide with horror, her features shifting in and out of clarity. They're counting on you. The flames roared, revealing the faces again. Those lost souls drew nearer, silhouettes of pain reflecting off each ember. In each flicker, she saw a life, a moment snatched away too soon. Twisted her gut. Who was she to choose? What made one life worth more than another? She could feel tears of frustration burning her cheeks, mingling with the acrid smoke that filled her lungs. Why this? Why now? She shouted into the chaos, her voice a small spark against the flames' restless dance. Because the words seemed to be drawn from the girl's lips by an unseen force, echoing with a weight that pressed down on Josephine's chest. Each choice has a consequence, and some are far worse than others. Stop! It was a plea, but the shadows swarmed, relentless and demanding. A chorus of whispers rose, each pleading for their life, each a heavy anchor dragging her down into despair. No, I can't choose, I want to choose. The ground beneath her erupted, sending her tumbling as the darkness began to swirl in savage delight. She felt the heat of the flames start to scorch her skin. Momentarily, the world shifted and then slammed back into place. She was standing at the edge of a precipice, a fiery chasm yawning wide, beckoning her body and soul to leap into its fiery oblivion. Do you see? The girl shrieked, her voice ghost-like as it twisted through the air. Acceptance of your fears is the way forward. You can't outrun what you are. A spectral figure emerged from the shadows. It shifted and contorted, a representation of everything Josephine had feared. She could barely recognize its human features amongst the haze. You think defiance will save you? It taunted, a wicked smile spreading across its face. Your light is flickering. You have to make a choice. But it was not just a choice about another. It struck her, cold and piercing. It was about her. Who was she really? The girl who fought for the lost? Or the coward who fled from the truth? Each heartbeat pounded in her ears like a war drum. As the shadows converged, their voices rising into a deafening crescendo, she felt herself fracturing. Time was slipping away, devoured by the chaos around her. She summoned a memory, the sound of laughter frozen in a brighter day, and clung to it like a lifeline. In that moment, a shocking realization coursed through her. She wasn't just fighting for them. She was fighting for herself. Together, she cried, the word bursting forth like a cleansing flame. I will face this. The vision of the chasm seemed to pulse at her declaration, as if testing her strength. The air crackled and buzzed with energy. She dared to take a step closer to the edge and felt its fierce warmth. What will you do? The shadow's unsettling melody called. Will you embrace the fire or let it consume you? Josephine swallowed hard, heart thundering violently against her ribcage. The shadows loomed larger, and her defiance hung in the air heavy and electric, challenging the very darkness surrounding her. Was it true that the fire could cleanse, or would it reduce her to ash? As she narrowly balanced on the brink of decision, a crack of light broke through the flames, the very flickering reminder of hope. Would she dive headfirst into the abyss, or grasp it with everything she had? Caught between life and oblivion, she stepped back. You think you've made me less? The shadows recoiled, shadows of doubt trembled in their wake. But Josephine had yet to uncover what lay beyond. Somehow, she still held the power to change everything or to let it all burn down. Face me, she demanded, the words carrying a weight of newfound resolve. But the darkness merely chuckled, mocking her strength. Very well, brave one. But know this, your path will require blood. The world shimmered and shook, the flames closing in around her, ready to claim her if she let her guard down. Josephine braced herself, heart racing with each tick of time, caught in the grip of haunting choices yet to be made. What would happen when she danced with the fire? Would she emerge whole, or would all that she loved be consumed? A bone-chilling scream pierced through the tumult. It was a plea, and it was from her. Who would she be willing to sacrifice when the time came? The screams dissolved into the howling wind of despair, spiraling around her like an unnatural tempest. The fiery chasm pulsed, pulling at the very core of her being, a dark allure of sin and sacrifice. Josephine felt it deep in her bones, the inescapable truth that the shadows thrived on her fear. Choose, the chorus of lost souls whispered, their voices weaving through her mind, each haunting tone a dagger in her heart. Somewhere among them, she recognized familiar faces, the friends she'd lost, the laughter that once filled her life. But now, their expressions were twisted in anguish, a reminder of the stakes at play. Josephine, the girl's voice broke through, defiantly cutting through the miasma of despair. You're stronger than this. Focus. Josephine's heart raced as she searched within herself, grasping for the flicker of light she'd glimpsed before. The flames danced dangerously close, and the urgency of her decision clawed at the edges of her sanity. Blood would be required, but whose? A chill gripped her spine as she considered the implications. You make it sound so simple, she shouted, swallowed by the chaos around her. What if the choice is the wrong one? The shadows churned, their laughter echoing off the cavern of her mind. Every choice holds a price, they taunted, their voices like nails against glass. Only you can determine how much you're willing to pay. A blinding heat surged through her, a sharp reminder of those who depended on her. Each face crowded her vision now, the rush of memories colliding with her present turmoil. The boy who had laughed with joy under the summer sun, the elderly woman who baked her cookies, the girl who had made her promise to stick together. A fire ignited within, burning away the fog of uncertainty. I choose to live, she cried, voice ringing with newfound clarity. The chasm shifted, swirling in response. The shadows pressed closer as if to suffocate her resolve. But the darkness wouldn't yield. Then so be it. Prepare for the fire to burn deeper. A quick shift, and the flames morphed into a jagged beast, roaring with hunger, lunging toward her with flaming jaws wide open. The heat grasped her like iron chains. In that moment, she felt the weight of generations pressing down upon her. Was survival the only victory, or was it an act of cowardice? A fleeting image filled her mind, her father, standing in their yard, smiling proudly as he lifted her bicycle. It's not just about surviving, Josephine, he said. It's about what you stand for. Stand for something, the girl echoed, her eyes pleading. Through the suffocating smoke, Josephine stumbled backward, mind racing. What more could she give? What should I do? The desperation in her voice echoed in the stillness, sharply contrasting against the roaring chaos. The shadows hesitated. Sacrifice your love, panic clawed at her throat. No, not them. But the shadows pressed relentlessly. You must tread the line between salvation and ruin. Choose one or risk them all. Time stalled, stretched like taffy as the flames slammed closer, whispering promises of power and destruction. The smoldering wrecks of memories flickered around her, each one a reminder that she was running out of options. "We're waiting," the shadows sang, laughter intermingling with the crackling of flames. She felt tears pool in her eyes, hot and stinging, matching the fire's glow. Her breath quickened, desperation turning to rage. "I want to be a pawn in this twisted game. If there's a cost, let it be mine." With a final cry, she lunged forward, ready to plunge into the depths of the chasm. The fire roared in response, welcoming her with open arms. Would her defiance shatter the cycle, or would she feed the flames with her very soul? But as she crossed the threshold, a scream of voice she recognized pierced through the haze. Josephine. It was her brother. The shadows recoiled for just a moment. Panic surged. She wasn't just a player. She was a protector. Time twisted again, giving her one last spiral of clarity. And as she braced for impact with the inferno, one question loomed, large above the rest. Could she save him, or would the fire consume everything? The moment she heard his voice, Josephine felt the ground beneath her quaking. Shadows evaporated, swirling as if startled by a sudden wind. The fire shrank back, flickering like a candle in a draft. "No!" The anguish in her brother's shout pulled at her soul. "Get out, Josephine!" She pivoted, a desperate instinct igniting her limbs. Her brother was somewhere beyond the inferno, a reality that blurred at the edges with every passing second. The flames were alive, snapping, curling, seeking her like greedy hands. The heat bathed her skin in pain, and she staggered back, heart thrumming furiously in her chest. "Choose!" The shadows hissed, their voices a cacophony drowning out her thoughts. "It's him or you." "No!" she roared, shaking her head, tears blurring her vision. I want tea." The chasm rumbled, and the flames writhed, silencing their mocking laughter for just a heartbeat. But in that brief stillness came a new laughter, cruel and high-pitched, echoing off the stone walls of her mind. It was hers. She laughed to stave off terror, to drown out the panic gnawing at her guts. "Please," she shouted, voice hoarse and desperate. "I'll do anything. Just let us go." But her plea vanished into the acrid smoke, unreleased like a bird trapped in a cage. "Find us, Josephine." The call was soft yet piercing, like glass shattering. It drew her deeper into the chaos, through memories of laughter and warmth, now twisted by fear. Their faces flickered like candle flames, brittle and breaking. Panic pounded in her ears as she forced herself forward, weaving through the gaping shadows reaching from the depths. "Hold on, Alex," she cried. She could feel the pull of something unholy at her heels, the shadows whispering promises of betrayal. Would they steal her brother away, consuming the last of what she had left? A flicker of light danced ahead, the glow beckoning. "This way," echoed the misty charm of her father's words. She sprinted, lungs screaming, heart hammering like a mad drummer. The fire surged, licking closer to her heels, a living entity seeking to claim her. "Josephine!" The urgency in Alex's voice shot her through the heart. She lunged toward the beam of light, the warm glow wrapping around her like ribbons of hope. But as she drew near, reality shifted. The light dimmed to a faint shimmer and the shadows closed in around her. "At what cost?" they crooned, their voices now a whispering temptation. "At what cost, dear girl? Enough!" she screamed, a fevered wildness igniting in her veins. "I refuse to play your games." Suddenly, the air thickened. Pressure crushed her chest as shadows congealed, taking form. Faces blurred and twisted in the smoke, some familiar, others foreign. They clawed at her, vying for her attention, each jagged edge a reminder of her sacrifices. "Josephine, help us," they implored, their mouths opening in silent screams. In that moment, clarity pierced through the fog. She was not just saving herself. She could save them, all of them. The stakes flooded into her core, a searing heat igniting her blood. "If I'm to take a price, it will be mine alone." With determination, she turned toward the fiery maw, ready to plunge inward, a burning sensation rising in her throat. "I'll take your pain. I'll take their suffering." But the chasm snarled, its fiery breath hot on her face. You know that is impossible. Something must burn. In a heartbeat filled with dread, something unspeakable dropped in her gut. Not Alex, she whispered, resignation threatening to choke her. Choose Josephine. A life for a life. The shadows surged forward. She closed her eyes tight, struggling against the suffocating doubt. I cannot choose. I want to choose. The roar of the inferno crescendoed, drowning out her thoughts, blinding her vision. And then there was silence. She opened her eyes, gasping, feeling the weight of the world heavy on her shoulders. But her brother's voice called her yet again, weaker this time. Josephine? Adrenaline surged through her, a sheer panic. I'm coming, she screamed into the abyss, but the world swirled in darkness. Fear took hold. Once more, what she couldn't see was the shadow creeping behind her, one knot of fire, but something darker, more sinister. As the world twisted once more, she grappled to stay grounded. Would she finally confront the true horror waiting just behind her? Josephine's breath turned ragged, visions swirling around her like a turbulent storm. The darkness was thick, almost solid, dragging at her limbs with hungry intent. She felt as if she stood between two worlds, one where hope flickered weakly in the distance, and the other where shadows clamored for her soul. Josephine? The whisper came again, weak yet echoing with urgency, the voice of her brother pushing through the chaos, igniting a fierce determination within her. This was no mere trial of courage. This was a fight for her brother, for the lives lost in a blaze of despair, and even for her own fractured soul. Hold on, she cried, her voice a defiant roar against the engulfing dark. The flames twisted and roared, ready to consume everything in sight, seething like serpents cornered by her conviction. But she would not surrender. Suddenly, the shadows shifted, dimming slightly, as if taken aback by her newfound resolve. She took a step forward, the heat from the fire licking nearer, warning her of the consequences of her hesitance. I choose to fight, she declared, her heart resolute. The darkness laughed, a horrible sound echoing from the depths. But she wouldn't let fear take her. Let me help you all, she thundered, the words bursting forth in a tidal wave of emotion. I will not let you drown in this darkness. With that intention hurling through her veins like a raging river, she plunged to the ground, palms pressed against the searing floorboards. I reach for you, she cried, drawing forth every ounce of love and hope collected in her heart. You are not alone. The fire convulsed, twisting around her, feeding off her energy, her scream at the flames but a beckoning challenge. Let them all go. Let it be me. You can take me instead. In an instant, the darkness shattered like glass, revealing the tattered faces of those she fought for the originals, reflecting agony yet clinging to a glimmer of hope in their eyes. Each figure seemed to shimmer with a yearning embrace, warmed by her spirit. Suddenly, everything shifted again. The light from that initial glow flooded the room, lighting the shapes of the lost painfully bright yet beautiful, revealing their anguished expressions, urging her to forge ahead. What do I do? She pleaded, desperate. Tell me how to end this. A calm voice threaded through the chaos. Remember, Josephine, it called reminiscent of a soft lullaby she heard in childhood. Sacrifice does not mean losing oneself, but intertwining your fate with those you love. In that moment, something clicked. Together we stand, she yelled, heart pounding with conviction. A fierce warmth surged as she summoned her memories, the joy of laughter, the warmth of love, the bonds that refuse to fade even in death. I am not afraid to share my light with you. The spirits surged, a brilliant riot of colors swirling in the darkness as one, radiating with her declaration. Release the burdens you carry, accept the past, and let love reclaim what once was lost. With every syllable, the fire twisted its snake-like tendrils, where shadows writhed, clutching at her resolve. Yet Josephine stood firm. She felt the essence of each soul intertwining with her own, a beautiful harmony looming at the edge of despair. Together, she bellowed, standing between flames and phantoms, ready to face the truth of their stories. Our stories are not finished. We rise, Not from ashes, but from the light we share. For a heartbeat, she felt everything still. The flames paused. Shadows ceased. It was as if breathing in tandem with the souls now cradled within her. Propelled by their collective energy, Josephine advanced. They tore through shadows, reflected in the blaze. As hope surged, a blinding light erupted, crackling like thunder, illuminating the deep core of despair. Shadowy whispers screamed in surrender, recoiling from the radiance streaming from their souls. Freedom echoed with her heartbeat, pulsating in an ethereal wave that engulfed the space. An explosion of brilliance erupted from the heart of the manor walls, shattering into fragments of light, swirling brightly against the night sky. In that moment, their anguished cries transformed from sorrow to laughter, singing through the air like warm rain on a summer day. Then, silence enveloped her. Josephine felt herself drifting on a timeless wave, the burden of choices lifted. She was acutely aware of her brother's presence, drawn to her like a flickering star. "Josephine, there you are," he exclaimed, eyes alight with life. "Alex!" Tears flowed freely as they collapsed into an embrace, warmth flooding her heart. The dread that had gripped her vanished like mist in the morning sun. "I was so scared," he murmured, burying his head in her shoulder. "I thought you wouldn't come. I had to," she whispered. "You are everything." And together we faced the shadows. As the last remnants of the past crumbled into dust, the manor ceased its haunting grip, restored to its former beauty. Josephine stood taller, breathing deeply, the air now sweetened with potential. Around them, the neighborhood illuminated softly, suggesting that life carried on. The laughter of children filled the streets again, each echo resonating with the promise of stories still waiting to unfold. They weren't just survivors. They were victors who had dared to wrestle with their shadows. "Let South leave this place," Josephine urged, her smile breaking the horizon of despair. As they walked hand in hand toward a new dawn, they felt the warmth of resurrection hum through the air. Josephine knew that while shadows may linger, light would always find a way to pierce through even in the darkest of manors. The past would always be a part of them, but it no longer bound them. They had turned their pain into strength, and in exchange, they had chosen life. Now it's your turn. If you loved this conclusion and want to join our journey for more thrilling stories, you need to subscribe now. Smash that like button now to fuel the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories. Tell us what you thought of Josephine's journey. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this epic conclusion. Your loyalty means the world to us. Show it.